Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for inquiring about this or any of our watches. So reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. Undoubtedly one of the best launches of 2023 and made only in 10 pieces. This is the Moser Cie Endeavour Perpetual Tantalum USA Special Edition. Now, the watch is made of tantalum. It has a jade dial. It is a perpetual calendar with a mechanism designed by Andreas Streller. Interested? So am I. Now, the watch is gloriously shaped, 42 millimeters in diameter. You can see in tantalum and steel. The case is tantalum, the bezel is tantalum, the crown is steel, the case back is steel, creating a very subtle type of two-tone. The watch measures 13.5 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 48.5 millimeters, and has a very standard 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, the watch fits nicely on my wrist of 16 centimeters circumference and actually matches my cuff quite well today. You can see because of the shape of the case, this is actually an easy fit on a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger. Here's your over-the-top shot, which always kind of exaggerates the width of a watch. Here's your cuff shot, and you can see that there's a concave bezel and a sloped case flank, so it will slide underneath most cuffs. And then the down the barrel angle is really the definitive one for fit across the wrist, where you can see I've got quite a bit of clearance on each side. And again, my wrist is 16 centimeters. Taking a quick look at the case back, you can see how it helps mitigate fit issues because it is itself curved with a crystal that is curved to match. The Endeavour case is wonderfully shaped and fluid. Now here we have a kudu leather strap. It's got a wonderfully rustic sort of finish. It's matted, it's minimally tanned. You can see that there is a monotone stitch. We have a sheer cut side showing the layers of leather, a more conventional calfskin on the bottom, a brand new Moser strap, no crimping, no gouging. And then this is the other part of the watch that's steel, the Moser pin buckle, where we have both pin and buckle with a combination of polish and satin, and of course Moser branding. Taking a look at the case, it has the same form, the wonderful fluid flowing form of a standard Endeavour, which is a good thing. Now, Edouard Melon, CEO of Moser, has told me that they wore out about one tool set per case when making this series, and that's pretty consistent with what I've heard about working with tantalum. Now, what's impressive here is that it's double finished. You can see that the hollows of the lugs, they're actually recessed and then mirror polished, and then the outer faces are vertically set, and there's a little pusher adjuster on the side that's used to adjust the leap year indication of the perpetual calendar. And then we have satination in between the lugs. We've got a Moser branded crown with a sort of inverse conical profile with the wider base facing out, and then this lovely concave bezel that thins at the mid-case, then swells. It waxes and wanes, waxing at 12 and 6, waning at 3 and 9. So it's got that wonderful, almost liquid metal aesthetic to it, a really lovely thing. And Moser cases are machined and then hand finished, so they can get these wonderful deep sculpted hollows, something you can't really do if you're just machining or just stamping like most of the industry. Now, while there are 10 examples of this watch with jade dial, no two will be exactly alike because jade is a sectioned and finished natural material. And you've probably seen the new Moser with Wyoming jade. It's in a streamliner case. That's nice, but it's a more traditional kind of green jade. This is more of a marble of white and light green tones, very distinctive. It's the only jade of its type that I've seen used in watchmaking. We have double indices up at 12 and at 6. We have faceted leaf-style hands. We've got alpha-style hands for running seconds and the power reserve. The power reserve indicator is over at 9 o'clock, and the watch has 2 barrels. It's rated 7 days chronometric power reserve. That is the period during which it will keep best time, though if you let it run to exhaustion from a full wind, the twin barrel movement is actually more like just under 9 days of power reserve. Now, there's a double pulse system for the crown, so a lot of people tell me they have difficulty stopping the seconds hand on a dime to set it against a reference time. And to set this watch, what I generally like to do is wait for the display of time to coincide with a clock by adjusting straight up to either 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and of course stopping the seconds hand when it's vertical. But a lot of people realize that that first pull does not actually stop the seconds hand, and that's because Moser uses a unique dual pull system. So the first pull is always going to stop the crown in the setting position for the calendar, and then the second pull is always going to stop the seconds hand and halt the movement, so you can actually set it against a reference time. So if you want to set it to a clock, pull once and then wait until it's aligned vertically, and then pull that second time to stop the running. Now, Andreas Streller designed the original Moser Perpetual mechanism back in 2005, and his signature has always been to take very complicated mechanisms and to make them deceptively simple and easy to use. So what he did was he created a perpetual calendar that can be set in either direction, and by the way, it can be set in either direction without breaking it. That is, any time of day. You cannot accidentally damage the mechanism. Now, the way this works is you've got a little stub index at the center, and you've got two large superimposed discs over at 3 o'clock. That's how the date can be so big without the dial being huge. There are two half discs that are sized so that when they are in the aperture, they appear oversized, but you can see it's not a full ring. Otherwise, with numerals that size, the watch would be huge. So you can see the little seam between them right there. You can also see that the system adjusts back and forth. Now, I know it's adjusting between 1 and 28, and we're jumping from September to October. This is just the way it works in quick set mode, so don't be confused. There's nothing wrong with it. The watch, of course, features a leap year on the back, and Streller was correct in assuming that you have 12 hours corresponding to 12 months and then a date. That's all you generally need on a daily basis. You may ask, why isn't the watch signed Swiss made? Because Moser says its watches are 90 to 95% Swiss made. The Swiss made standard demands only 60, so it is a lesser standard, so they don't use it. That is why. On the reverse, you can see 1 of 10. Again, that's steel case back for a slight tonal contrast with the tantalum of the case. Tantalum has the feel of precious metal, and then it's very heavy, and then it has this sort of mysterious blue-gray tone that you don't expect in a metal. The movement, as you can see, is large and fills the case back. A hand-in-glove sort of fit. That's a signature of a true manufacturer. And Moser doesn't just build the bridges and the plates and the wheels. They make the hard parts too, the parts that most manufacturers buy. So they make the balance, they make the hairspring, they even make the 14-karat gold escapement, that is the anchor and the escape wheel. Now, let's just talk about this assembly here. You can see it's got a full bridge and it's free sprung. That means it can be precisely adjusted and it's quite shock tolerant. It also lifts out as a unit, so the escapement, the balance, the hairspring, the balance staff, and its pivot jewels, all this comes out as a piece, so when the watch goes to the regional Moser service center in your region, they can swap this whole part out for one that's already lubricated and regulated. This is one of the slowest parts of service, so being able to pop in a module really speeds things up. It's unique. You can also see that there is actually a 14-karat gold escapement. 14-karat is mechanical grade gold. It's harder than 18-karat. It reduces friction and reduces the need for lubrication in the escapement. Then we have two hairsprings that are identical but 180 degrees out of phase. So when due to gravity, one causes the watch to run fast, the other will, because it is equal and opposite, slow it down. So one causes the watch to run fast, the other by an equal and opposite magnitude will slow it down, correcting for the effect of gravity instantaneously in any position, thus accomplishing instantly in a wristwatch what a tourbillon historically would have accomplished in a pocket watch. Also important, and only present on this example and the 10-piece lapis dial, the capstone is a genuine brilliant cut diamond. What else is going on? Well, it's got a nice slow beat rate of 18,000 vibrations per hour, stately and traditional and aesthetically pleasing. We also have jewels, pivot jewels, both barrel arbors, and then all of the train jewels set in golden chaton cups fixed by polished screws, a nod to the pocket watch era of watchmaking at Moser in the 19th and early 20th century. All this is water resistant down to 30 meters. And then you can see that there are unique double-crested Côte de Genève across the bridges, and while the bridge is split in two, too for quickness of service. You can see it is designed to replicate a pocket watch style 3/4 bridge, as is this extended swan's neck style click spring. You can see that the crown wheel has polished outer circumference and a satinated core. The click is black polished. All the screws are mirror finished. There is a bevel that is mostly machined but still quite handsome and evenly drawn all the way. And then you can see that the steel components as well as the balance bridge have been satinated across their top with the free sprung stud holders polished. Also impressive, you can see that there's a lovely media blasted base on which the escapement and the balance assembly sits, and then we have satination on the wheels. All of it quite attractive in a watch that simply exhausts superlatives. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.